The Centenary University Little Theater is accessed through the southwestern corner of the Say Administration Building at the front of campus. This is the oldest theater on campus, built in 1885 as the Women's Gymnasium. When the original main structure of CCI burned down on a Halloween night, 1899, the Little Theater remained the oldest building on campus. Afterwards, the original structure was rebuilt in 1900 and completed in September of 1901. Following the fire, the Little Theater became attached to the main building. The Centenary Little Theater was created as part of the Little Theater movement that started in Europe around 1887. The Little Theater movement opposed commercialism. Its proponents believed that theater could be used for the betterment of American society and for self-expression. The Little Theater movement also presented a more artistic way to express creativity and experimentation by reaching out to a more diverse audience. The capacity of a Little Theater is 175 seats. Centenary's Little Theater seats approximately 160 patrons at full capacity. Before becoming a theater, the building housed home economics classes until 1942, when they moved to the newly built Trevorrow Hall. The Little Theater was reconstructed as a theater in 1951. Later, a lobby was added along with a front entrance, the director's office on the left, and the ticket office on the right. A radio station was once housed in the rear of the theater, but was dismantled during the renovations of 1951. In place of the radio station is now a large workshop, containing 2 dressing rooms, storage rooms for costumes, makeup, and lighting equipment. New lighting systems, ventilation, and pulley systems have also been installed. Besides the Little Theater, productions were also held in the Say Building's Whitney Chapel, named after Dr. George Whitney, the first president of Centenary. Much like the Little Theater, the chapel was constructed along with the new Say Administration Building in 1900. The Whitney Chapel contains a stage and 5 arches in the background. These arches are often seen in photos of past Centenary productions. Many of the student-led productions were produced by societies such as the Dicko-Sophian Society, Pytho-Sophian Society, and the college itself. From 1874 to 1910, Centenary was known as Centenary Collegiate Institute and was an all-female junior college, starting in 1910.
Well, the Little Theater is the least advanced in terms of lighting. It's the smallest, it's the oldest, the heating doesn't always work right. It's just kind of more like run down than the other ones. It still works, but it's just not as up to par.
That is the production of the Mousetrap. Now, that was the Mousetrap that was done in the Little Theater a number of years ago. My wife was in the production that was done in the Sitnik, so I have a different understanding of that. Now, because it is a black and white photograph, there is a much more attention on the shadows and the ways in which, through the lighting, we're able to highlight the actors that are on stage. It is much flatter than what we were able to achieve when we did Mousetrap in the Sitnik because of the size of the space, and the actors are more closely positioned together because there isn't as much space in that area. That's the space that they're primarily going to use if they're a student. So that's the space that they're going to have more access to because the Sitnik is primarily used for the professional theater.
The Edith Bolt Coots Black Box Theater offers visitors incredibly unique experiences to theatrical productions. Seating in the black box can be arranged to fit the needs of any production and fits 120 patrons at full capacity. Productions held in the black box generally range from professional equity theater productions to smaller concerts. The theater was named in honor of Edith Bolt Coots' centenary class of 1942.
I'd have to say the black box is my favorite because it's very similar to the types of theaters that I worked at when I was in Chicago. So there's a lot of familiarity with that type of theater space from my past because it is a space that can be adapted and adjusted depending upon the production. So there is a dear place in my heart for that because of the relationship to the theaters that I worked in Chicago when I first started acting out of undergrad. The black box being a multi-purpose space allows the functionality of that space to be changed depending upon the needs of the theater space.
The advantage of a black box is that you can put the audience all around it, or on 3 sides or 2 sides, or you can do funky stuff. And in my time here, we haven't done that. So that's the main way that differs, but it hasn't been used that way in my experience, but I know they have done funky stuff with it.
The Sitnik Theater is housed in the campus's newest building, the David and Carol Lackland Center, along with the Black Box. The state-of-the-art theater seats 504 and is the venue of the Centenary Stage Company's shows.
In terms of the theater spaces, which one would I take them to? Is that what your
Yes, if
question
you were
is?
in charge of the tour, which theater would you?
I do the tours here, so basically
What theaters do you
I take them
them
to the Sitnik first, and then I take them to the Black Box, and then I'll take them to the Little Theater. Because of the Lackland Performing Arts Center being an all-encompassing theater space, it is something that is very exciting, it is something that is very dynamic, and it is something that engages our audience because it is, from 2010, a brand new theater space. The Little Theater is going to be the primary space that students are going to be working in, so I do want them to see that, but they're not really going to be able to see all the workings of a theater. It's much more compact in the Little Theater, so in terms of a view, it is much more informative for them to see a multi-purpose venue like the Sitnik and the Black Box, and I get to show them two uniquely different theater spaces back to back. You have two proscenium arch theaters in the Little Theater, which is 177 seat proscenium arch theater, and then you have the Sitnik, which is a 500 seat proscenium arch theater. The size difference between the two allows actors to be able to train and hone their craft in both spaces. Proscenium arch refers to the picture frame that is at the edge of the stage, allowing for, in a proscenium arch theater space, all the audience sit facing in one direction towards the stage. And the proscenium arch is a picture frame that frames the use. It is a fourth wall convention that what we're looking at is like we're looking through a fourth wall into the space for more realistic plays, and for theaters and spaces where it's more presentational, and being able to hide the mechanics of the theater behind the proscenium arch allows to be the use of pyrotechnics and other things. The mechanisms of the theater are able to be hidden.
I guess, the Sitnik's just bigger. It has better lighting stuff. That's its main appeals, I guess. And just larger house. It's more of like it's just bigger. It's just it's newer. It has a lot of much better lighting capabilities. The Sitnik is the newest, most advanced one, the biggest one. And then the Black Box is, I did one show there, but it wasn't really the advantage of a Black Box theater. So the Sitnik Theater and the Little Theater are both proscenium theaters. The Little Theater has much less lighting abilities. The lighting isn't very good. You have to really work around the lighting. And in the back, the backstage area where the dressing rooms are is so close to the stage, you can't be loud back there. You can't really talk much, so you have to whisper. And in the Sitnik, you can fully talk in the back rooms. You can, the dressing rooms are far enough away that you can exist without worrying. But I guess the biggest change is when the Sitnik Theater came in, I'm not sure when, but pretty recently. 2010. So they didn't have that theater. So that's probably the biggest change that's happened since then, I would imagine. I would just definitely say the Sitnik Theater. It's the biggest, most up-to-date, the best one, has the best lighting, has the best seating. I would just definitely show them the Sitnik. We have actual nice dressing rooms in the back there. It's a good setup. That's the one I would show. And I guess I'd probably show all three, honestly. If they were a theater major who was showing on campus, these are the places they have to use. So, yeah. I'd maybe show Ferry, too. Maybe show the recital hall and Ferry. But yeah, in terms of every show, what the shows have tried to do, Book of Days tried to do a certain thing. Head Over Heels is going to try to do a certain thing.
What are you trying to do?
Just sort of what they're aiming, the story they're trying to tell, the way they're trying to tell it. And I think the play that I've been in that did the best job of doing what it was supposed to do was Alice.
Yeah,
and people might not view it as, I had some relatives who came to see it and they didn't like it that much. They thought it was a good show, but they were sort of skeptical because it was this very flashy, stage combat-y thing. It wasn't like what you would think of as theater.
Special thanks to James Brandis, Stephen Davis, and Colleen Bain. This video was created by Anna Stein, Lauren McCartney, and Emily Goodyear. Music is Blue Paint by Kevin MacLeod.